Hi there, John.
Hey, Susan. It's great to see you.
Oh, it's really good to see you too. I'm so sorry to ask you to meet me here on such short notice. This coffee shop was the first place I could think of.
Hey, no worries, Susan. You sounded quite a bit upset on the phone and anxious. Is everything okay?
Well, I guess it's not really serious, but this is just really upsetting me. And look, I know you do this for a living, so I really shouldn't have...
Hey, Susan, don't worry about it. Like I said, I'm here to listen and help if I can. And you mentioned what I do for a living. I assume that this means you might need some help with your diet plan.
Oh gosh, yes, my goodness. Oh, I'm so confused, John. We've known each other for years, right? And you've seen me when I've lost weight and I've been slim, and you've seen me like I am now, like this. And then I get slim again, and I don't know, John, I'm just so tired of this. I've never come to you because I respect your time, but I'm just really desperate.
Okay, Susan, first of all, you can come to me anytime. I've helped, as you know, well over 100,000 people in understanding and dealing with issues around weight loss, body image, body shaping. So why would I not help one of my closest friends, right? So rest assured, you're not overstepping any kind of boundaries, and I'd let you know if you were. Second, I have noticed the dreaded yo-yo diet syndrome going on with you, not to hurt your feelings, but you once told me that you really valued your privacy. So I respected that, and I just held back from saying anything. Now, I don't want to put you through any more stress than you're already going through. That's another reason. So let's start here. What happened over the past few months that has taken you to this heavier weight? I want to hear it in your words. But first, let me tell you from a nutrition expert's perspective what triggers weight gain. Perhaps that will help. Is that okay if we do that first?
Absolutely. That's exactly why I'm here.
Okay, great. I'm just going to write on the back of this menu so you'll have something to take home. If you don't mind if I write down a few tips, right?
That'd be great.
Okay. Weight gain almost always comes down to three things. The first is stress. Now, I know you've been having some issues with your husband, and that kind of stress is the worst. The kiddos are growing up, and that can really cause family and emotional stress. And you're a working mom. Is there a more stressful job on the planet?
Tell me about it. I think I should have the title of CEO and stress magnet.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Can I really be transparent with you about something, and you promise that this will just stay between us?
Sure, of course.
Well, I swear, this stress that Robert and I are having in our marriage, I don't know, John. I think sometimes it's because I've gained so much weight. I imagine him that he's looking at these younger, fitter girls and women everywhere he looks, and even though I've never seen him actually do it, I've never caught him, but I snap at him all the time because my emotions are just all over the place. And, well, basically, I'm losing my husband because I'm overweight. Am I just overreacting here?
Susan, I don't know. I do know that couples have broken up over issues with body image, but most of the time it's not the weight itself, it's the disappearance of sexual confidence. And that happens with both men and women, so please don't think this is a woman thing. It's not. I've seen it in many, many men. We're just as sensitive about some things as you are, but a lot of men are frankly too afraid to share it like you just did. So first of all, let me applaud you for your strength.
Thanks.
That said, I know Robert, and he's a good man, and he loves you. It's more than just a weight issue. I know he's had issues with his job, and the kiddos that are both affecting you. I know that's a lot of big struggles, but listen, I surveyed my list. I had 80,000 people on my list. You know that I write a lot of emails, and all these women were involved in weight loss programs. And by far the number one reason for wanting to lose weight among all of these women was this: I don't want to wreck my marriage, or I don't want to see my husband leave. It sounds awful, but that is the number one reason a lot of women have. And men are visual, granted, but good men will love you through anything. However, it's your responsibility to take action, and that's what you're doing. And I know for a fact that when gals drop the unwanted pounds, their confidence in every area, especially sexually, explodes. That makes men happy, and vice versa, as you can imagine. So, the same thing is true in men. Does any of this help?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that really does. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of folks like you are like modern day superwomen, or in my case, Superman, right? I've always loved the Man of Steel, as you know. But stress like you're enduring right now, Susan, can melt that steel like butter under a Texas summer sun. So listen, let's deal with the stress, but let's get back to how nutrition and stress relate. Both men and women turn to food, especially carbohydrates, to help medicate their stress. That's right, food is a powerful form of self-medication. One of the techniques I teach in my books and seminars is how to return food to its rightful place, and that's something that you own and use as a tool to go anywhere and do anything you desire. food no longer owns me. And as you know, Susan, I was once quite obese myself. I mean, I was owned by food. Now, a lot of people feel bad about themselves when they self-medicate with carbohydrate foods, but they shouldn't. And let me tell you why. Did you know that sugar is more addictive than cocaine?
You've got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not. And I know that's hard to believe, but the science behind this doesn't lie. It's actually not that far away from cocaine chemically speaking. Now, here's one thing that you may not know. Any carbohydrate you eat ends up as some form of sugar in the body. And the more complex the carbohydrate, like a yam, for example, the longer it takes. But it will eventually end up as sugar. And there is one word that I'll cover in just a moment that causes weight gain and addiction to food that even slow-burning carbohydrates, like those so-called healthy carbs, can induce. And this one word is literally at the root of every killer disease that we face in modern society. And it stimulates the hormones, like ghrelin, that make you crave carbohydrates, especially at night.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly it. John, I've been raiding the fridge at night for, gosh, it seems like months now, and I just lose myself. I'm going crazy. I thought it was just me being weak and not having enough discipline or willpower.
No, wait, 1 second. Willpower? How could a working mother of two be weak and lack willpower? I mean, Susan, you're one of the smartest, most capable women I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And weight gain is not a matter of you not being strong enough or, heaven forbid, not smart enough. And while there is some willpower involved, as there is in anything that you want to do in life, the lack of willpower alone does not cause weight gain. You have to understand that. It's not the cause. So let's get back to those sugars real quick that are found in all carbohydrates. Unlike cocaine, no one alive assumes that the next bite of a bagel or that one extra cookie could put them into food addiction, right? Well, after all, food is essential for survival. Cocaine is not. Someone taking a narcotic is very well aware of the risks. Someone eating, say, a banana? No way. I mean, I'm not saying you should never eat bananas. I'm not even saying you should never eat carbs. There's a time and place for those foods. And that is the really big secret to lasting weight loss. And I'm going to explain to you why that's true in just a minute. So keep hanging with me, okay?
Oh, you got me.
Okay. By the way, am I going too fast? Is this about, do you want to grab a pen or?
Oh, no, actually, I was prepared for this and I've been recording. I hope you don't mind.
Okay. I thought I saw you get your phone out. So no, not at all. Okay. So we have stress. That is the weight gain demon if ever there was one. Now, there are many ways to relieve stress. Creating just 15 minutes a day, preferably in the morning if you can, and before you go to bed, to take 10 really deep breaths through your nose and hold for just a few seconds and release the air slowly through your mouth. That's been shown clinically to reduce stress. And exercise, if done correctly, and I'll show you how in a moment, because most people don't do it correctly, reduces stress significantly. And there are specific supplements that reduce stress really effectively. They usually replace amino acids and minerals that have been drained or depleted due to our toxic and hyper-stressful modern environment. Okay, so the first cause of weight gain is stress, but before we get to the second, do you want to move to a quieter booth? I know, it's getting pretty busy in here, and this is pretty personal and maybe even embarrassing, so what do you say?
Yeah, that would be good. I want to do whatever it takes to just put an end to this. I'm so tired of this vicious cycle of losing weight and gaining weight and losing weight. Oh, I'm sorry. I know you know about that, but it's just hard.
Yeah, I know it seems really hard, and I understand totally. But in about 20 minutes from now, everything's going to be crystal clear, so just hang with me, Susan. Clarity, by the way, is one of the biggest factors in weight loss success. Uncertainty is a success killer. And that's one of the first things you told me, Susan, that you were confused, that you were uncertain, by all the diets that are out there, right?
You're absolutely right. And that makes total sense.
Okay, so let's get you certain. The second cause of weight gain, and this relates back to what I just said, is the wrong kind of exercise.
But John, I do cardio every day after work for 45 minutes. My gym has a daycare, so I pick up Andrea and Tyler, and then I go to the gym on my way home.
Okay, Susan, remember when I said exercise done correctly? Well, this is exercise that's good for your heart, but it does little, if anything, to help you lose weight.
Wow, so I've been wasting 45 minutes on that damn treadmill and elliptical glider for nothing?
Well, not entirely, but even 60 minutes of cardio like you're doing burns off the caloric equivalent of around a bagel. That's it. So all you have to do in order to wreck all of that session that you just did, 45 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever, is to eat a little more food. Only about 400 or 500 calories or so.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah, I know it does. But what if I told you that I do only 3 sessions of a specific form of cardio every week, and that each session lasts only 9 to 15 minutes, and they burn off a ton more calories?
I'd say you're just kidding me again. Come on, lift up your shirt.
Excuse me?
Come on, I've seen you at our pool parties. Lift up your shirt.
Okay, well, okay, no one's looking. So I did say this was going to get embarrassing, but I thought you were going to be the one to be embarrassed. Okay, but very fair.
Okay, so you're telling me that you have those abs because you do, what, 45 minutes a week of cardio or less?
No, that's just one part of it, but it is a big part. And it's the way that I do the cardio that not only burns more fat than your 45-minute session, but also increases my fat burning power up to 24 hours after I stop exercising. So I just keep burning calories for a full day.
Come on, John. What is this? Cardio magic?
No, it's just strategic cardio. My friend Tim calls it prescriptive training, and I love that expression. I give my body, and you should give yours, not one more minute than it needs to burn fat when it comes to exercise. So that's why I recommend this super short cardio session, in addition to the absolute most important exercise that you or anyone else can do in order to burn fat.
And that is?
Resistance training. Anything that puts resistance against your muscles, and that can be slowly increased over time, is going to help you burn more fat over the time. Now, I use the gym and I lift weights because I enjoy looking more muscular. But you can do it at home with exercise bands. It costs $15. You can use body weight training, or you can go to the gym. All that matters is that you put your muscles under resistance.
But John, first of all, I don't want muscles like yours. Your arms are bigger than my head. Plus, I've seen women who work out with weights and they just look manly.
Okay, first of all, it's impossible for you to get arms like mine unless you're taking illegal drugs. And all the women that you see in our gym that are, what you say, gross, they are taking illegal drugs. I'm sorry to say that, but that's their choice. And I'm not here to judge them. But without a ton more testosterone, the muscle building hormone that men have in their bodies in far greater amounts than you don't stand a chance to get quote unquote bulky. Now, second, the way that you're going to be training is specific. Again, specificity, that's the key. Think prescriptive training, not one more minute than you need. It's simply not possible to end up too muscular if you train like I suggest, unless you train longer like I do and you eat a lot more food, then possibly you can, but neither of which I'm going to recommend for you. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, and this is a funny but overlooked answer to this question, but you know what you can do? You can just stop training when you reach your muscular goals. And well, actually you don't stop, but what you do is you stop pushing so hard and you go into maintenance mode. Does that make sense?
Okay, now I feel silly. Of course, just stop. It's not like I'm going to wake up one morning and look like the Incredible Hulk or something.
Exactly. Now, would it help if I explain why resistance training is the number one fat burner on the planet?
You mean it's even more than cardio? And even more than your magic 9-minute cardio?
Okay, yeah, way, way more. Let me explain. And let me just be honest with you. This is the number one cause of dietary failure. I know that sounds strange. It's not discipline. It's not willpower. It's because you simply do not see the results that you want to see quickly enough. And resistance training is not only the secret to faster results, it's also an absolute necessity if you ever want to enjoy one of your tasty favorite carbohydrate foods again without putting on an ounce of fat. I'm about to show you how training like I suggest sets your body up to demand those yummy carbohydrates. And yeah, I'm talking desserts, pizza, pasta, you name it. And when you do, your body will use these nasty sugars to burn off even more fat.
Okay, if I didn't know you better, I'd swear you were just smoking something.
Smoking. Well, you know me. The only thing I smoke are the 20-something-year-old kids in the gym, right?
How old are you now anyway? I just assumed you were about my age.
No, Susan, I'm 10 years older than you. You're about 38, correct?
Yeah, 38.
Yeah. Well, I'm 48, about to turn 49.
No freaking way. Come on, what's your secret? Surgery?
No.
You have to be honest.
No.
I promise I won't tell.
I promise that's not what it is. It's a combination of how I eat, which includes a lot of healthy fats. I know that freaks people out when I say I eat fat. And, there's some good genes, I guess, for the wrinkles, so thanks, Dad. But exercise reduces the outward sides of aging only if your diet is moderate to high in fat. Does that surprise you? It should. And if you don't exercise too long, and that's what you're doing, Susan, you're exercising too long, like 95% of the people in the world are doing. So here's your second takeaway. Write this down. Exercise less, age less. Exercise less, lose more. I know it's counterintuitive, but so is a lot of science, right? Fortunately, this takeaway is also backed by numerous studies from all over the world. And the reason that you don't hear about this on those late night infomercials or from overweight doctors who are wanting to sell, of all things, weight loss books is because they won't sell their books or their stupid workout DVDs. I mean, these days, everyone thinks they need to be quote unquote insane, when they train or follow Dr. Santa Claus's weight loss miracle diet. Just because he's a doctor? Well, it's utter crap. It's just not true. And by the way, doctors, as much as I love them when I need them, only take a few hours of nutrition at best to get their MD, sometimes not at all. And I study more than that in a day. They're not the best source for you, nor are these super trainers, the people that have looked skinny and fit all of their life. Now, Susan, you know that I used to be really obese, right?
Yeah, I saw the pictures. I could hardly even recognize you.
Well, thanks. And let me ask you something. Who do you think that you should listen to when, say, starting a new business? Would you listen to Donald Trump, who was born into a rich family, or the guy down the street who was born into total poverty, never even went to business school, and still managed to build a thriving, prosperous, and ethical business?
Obviously, I'd want to learn from the second guy. I mean, besides, Trump's hair just gives me the freaky EBGBs.
Yeah, it does me too. Well, then why should it be any different when it comes to changing your body? The ideal people that you want to listen to are those like us, those who are well-studied but also went through it ourselves. I mean, how else can I possibly relate to you? I come from your same background. I'm also very fit. A lot of these celebrity doctors are anything but fit. So if you just narrow your search for answers in books down to experience with obesity and a system that works so well that the person that writes it uses it, there goes 95% of your confusion.
So John, how did you get started in all of this? Did you know exactly what to do?
Hardly. But I got started with one simple piece of advice. And again, I got it from a guy who had been obese most of his life, and I'm going to share that with you right now. How many meals a day do you eat, Susan?
Usually 3.
Okay, good. Here's what I want you to do. Don't change a thing in your diet for 3 or 4 days. Simply cut each meal in half. Eat half and then eat the next half in 3 hours. Simply doing this will create what's called thermogenesis. That's internal body heat production, and that burns more calories. This is a great way to start, and it's super simple. Now, you're not going to end up dropping 30 pounds or anything like that, but it's a great way to get your body going. Now, you're also going to want to change a few of the foods that you're eating, of course, but just doing this will give you a terrific start.
Got it. Now I'm totally clear, and now I get why I was naturally drawn to you for these answers. I was going to speak to my trainer at the gym, but I know he's never even been overweight. He just can't relate to me. Heck, he can't even really know what it takes to lose weight, except from a textbook he might have read somewhere.
Exactly, Susan, and that was a good call. Okay, now let's get back to exercise because I want to shock you again. I exercise in the gym no more than 90 minutes a week. I know men and women who do that in a day, and they wonder why their skin looks older, why they can't lose body fat, and why they basically look the same year after year after year. That, along with my moderately high dietary intake of fat, yes, fat, keeps my hormones high and helps my body make more rapid changes.
Okay, I want to hear all about this kind of workout. I'm doing 3 times that much work by just doing these cardio exercises. So obviously I can make the time to do it. But first I have to ask you, you eat fat? Really? With abs like that? Come on. Aren't you afraid of heart disease?
You know, one of the biggest lies ever told, or ever sold, as I like to say, is that fat makes you fat. Fat makes you skinny, assuming that you don't gorge on it, and it's very hard to gorge on fat. And diets higher in fat have been shown time after time, study after study, to improve blood lipids associated with type 2 diabetes and, yes, heart disease. Fat doesn't clog your arteries. In fact, carbohydrates, if eaten at the wrong time of the day, are converted into triglycerides, which is a form of blood fat, and that is what's causing heart disease.
So carbs turn into fat? That's nuts. I just assumed you needed carbs for your brain or something. I think I read that once.
Well, did you know that your body can make its own sugar?
What?
That's right. The body can't make its own essential amino acids. You have to ingest them using food or you get sick and die. Your body can't make its own essential fats. You must eat fats, these essential fats, or you get sick and you can possibly die. But there is not one essential carbohydrate, not one essential sugar. That's because your body can manufacture sugar on its own when it needs it. This process is a fancy word called gluconeogenesis, the creation of glucose, which is sugar. And this is an evolutionary adaptation from the caveman days. You know, back when we used to go months and months without any carbohydrates at all. Well, our bodies either evolved or were designed from the start to make sugar on their own. Isn't that cool?
It's not only cool, it makes me wonder why all these diets that are called healthy contain so many carbohydrates. I see as much as 50 to 65% carbohydrate. And do all the carbs you eat get converted to those triglyceride things?
Yes, unless they're used immediately for either muscular repair, as I'm about to show you how, or your direct energy needs, like if you're running a marathon, which is something most people will never do. Anything left over, and this is what you need to take home, anything left over gets converted to that blood fat called triglyceride, or trigs for short. And now we know that this is the main cause of heart disease. Trigs elevate a little bitty section of your LDL cholesterol.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. That's the bad cholesterol, right?
No, really it isn't. LDL is not bad cholesterol. LDL is harmless unless these tiny sections called subfractional LDL are either elevated or super small in size, or both, which is the case with most heart disease patients, right? So likewise, HDL is good cholesterol, but there are better forms of HDL than others. The medical community just like to make things a little too oversimplistic. And it's not only ruining our health as a nation, it's also creating a $1 trillion pharmaceutical industry in the process. Now, I'll cover that at another time because I want to stay in a good mood. So carbs elevate trigs, which can cause your small particle LDL to increase in number. This will lead to a heart attack with almost 100% certainty if those little particles are also super small. Super small particle LDL is like glue. These rogue particles attach easily and even penetrate the linings of your arteries. They form plaque like crazy, often in a matter of months. Now, that's why I start people on a moderate fat, higher protein, timed carb diet plan. Let me say that again, timed carb diet plan. I didn't say low carb, timed carb. I'm going to explain it in a moment. And then I'll ask them to do their blood work. I'll have them check it in about 4 to 6 weeks just to see how they're doing. You need to have a competent physician working with you on any diet plan, by the way. Now, this is a safety net that no one should ignore. And we're not going to get into the tests that you should ask for today. I'll give you a list, though, Susan. And also, they're listed in my book. Now, we're drifting a little bit, but I love this conversation, so I hope you're still with me.
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, I'm learning more than I ever had by reading a book. Please keep going if you've got anything else to share.
Sure. So here's a fact. Short, intense exercise sets your body up to eat those carbs that we love. I'm going to tell you exactly how this happens in just a moment, but first let me explain what resistance training does to your body. First, it increases a substance called lactic acid, and it does so quickly. And it also burns the sugar that's stored in your muscles and liver, and that's called glycogen. Lactic acid causes that burning feeling you get when you lift weights and do any form of resistance training. The reason that stuff is magical is because, for one thing, the body requires more energy to metabolize it. That creates a caloric deficit right there. But the real magic is in natural growth hormone production. Lactic acid increases your natural anti-aging, super fat-burning hormone. It's called growth hormone. Now, this is nothing you take, nothing you supplement. It's already in your body. We're just going to increase it a lot using this lactic acid trick. Now, resistance training also burns calories up to 48 to 72 hours after the session, assuming the session was intense. Notice I didn't say long, Susan. I said intense. This has been studied on 80 and 90-year-olds, so intensity means different things to different people at different ages. Anyone can do what I'm talking about, absolutely anyone. So you have a ton of extra calories being used up after the session. Got it? Well, did you know that for every pound of lean muscle that you gain, you burn an additional 400 calories a week just by doing nothing? Isn't that crazy? So if we were to add 10 pounds of lean muscle to you and remove 20 pounds of fat at the same time, your body would burn an extra pound of fat every freaking week due to the muscle. And you would look more than 10 pounds lighter because muscle is dense. So it makes you look much smaller. Most people think it makes you look bigger. It actually makes you look smaller when you shrink the fat around it. You would literally look like a different person. Smaller, leaner, more toned, the body all of us desire, and you would be a smaller, leaner, toned, fat-burning machine.
That sounds fabulous. Sounds like every woman's dream.
And if that wasn't enough of a reason to resistance train a few minutes a day, here's the real kicker. Resistance training sets up the body to demand those yummy carbohydrates. That's why resistance training is the best solution to the fastest growing disease causer in all the world, and that's insulin resistance. We all eat these carbohydrates, and the US RDA and their My Plate or food pyramid nonsense is really the true villain here, so don't beat yourself up. They've been telling us to eat 11 servings of grain a day, for example. 11! Do you think your body needs that much sugar? Now, remember, grains convert to sugar. They just do it more slowly. And grains contain a lot of anti-nutrients. They're actually not good for you. And I'm going to cover that at another time, but just know this. We are a carb-addicted nation. And the answer is not to eat more carbs. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. But how does this resistance training and a timed carb diet, how does that all work together? I'd love to lose weight and eat pizza at the same time.
Well, yeah, and you can, believe it or not. I do. That's right, I do. And people freak out all the time when I tell them this, but I do. And some people actually go with me and watch, so I can prove it. Look, I eat my favorite foods twice a week, and I'm very lean, as you just saw. And most people do not want to be as lean as I am. So I recommend that they can eat one serving of their favorite foods every few days, or even every other day. if they're willing to do the exercise and cut the calories and carbs on their off days. But either way you go, this is by far the best approach to dieting I think ever created, because it ensures that you will never be more than a few days away max from any food that you ever want. So, Susan, remember when I said resistance training helps solve the insulin resistance problem? Well, we are insulin resistant because we've been eating way more carbohydrate than the body was ever designed to process. You know, less than 100 years ago, our carb intake was half of what it is today, and our sugar intake was 1/30th of what it is today. Our fat intake was much higher in 1920, and that's when heart disease was not even on the top 10 killer list. Now it's numero uno, even with this so-called healthy, low-fat nonsense going about. Well, all these carbs, our pancreas, which regulates insulin and lowers blood sugar after they're ingested, it just can't keep up. It's that simple. And the result is childhood obesity on a scale that we've never witnessed before in human history. Not to mention adult obesity, which is on a scale also we've never seen before. That's why resistance training combined with that timed carb diet is the answer. Period. End of discussion. You can put a nail in the coffin of confusion and uncertainty right here and now, because this is the only answer that allows you and anyone else to have the best of all worlds. Resistance training depletes the sugar already stored in your body, it kickstarts your pancreas, and it does it all if you train in short, intense spurts. The window for eating carbs then opens up, and if you do it just right, you can enjoy your pizza or any food you desire, and your weight loss will be the same, and it will actually increase over time. In fact, the way I do it, with a bit more intensity and time in the gym and more days without carbs, except vegetables, of course, allows the pizza or whatever food I desire to be eaten in even greater amounts. And get this, it increases my fat burning.
Okay, well, how on earth does that happen?
Okay, when you diet, there's a hormone in your body called T4. This is your inactive thyroid, and it converts to T3, the hormone that's responsible for your metabolic rate. Did you know that when you diet, that hormone T4 decreases? That's right, your metabolism takes a nosedive on a low-calorie diet within 72 to 100 hours. That is another reason why diets have all let us down. They've let you down because they're ruining your metabolism. The answer is simple. You have to eat more food and do it at the right time, as I've explained. And if you do that, your T4 actually increases, your body doesn't think it's starving, and you get a metabolic boost from that process called thermogenesis, the creation of heat. And since calories are a unit of heat, that means you burn more calories in this state. And presto, pizza equals more fat burning. I've used this trick up to a week out from a magazine photo shoot, so I can get that lean eating like this. If I can do that, imagine what you can do.
I'm imagining it right now, and it really feels amazing. This is really starting to make a lot of sense.
Cool. Now, before we get to that third reason behind weight gain, let's recap, okay? First, there's stress. Elevated stress causes carbohydrate cravings, signals the brain to produce fat-storing and eat more hormones like cortisol and ghrelin, and that often leads to food addiction. No one eats a stick of butter when they're stressed out, right? Well, so it's not the fat that you're craving. What do you eat when you're stressed, Susan?
Chocolate. I love that stuff. And pizza. I also love pasta and ice cream. What's weird is that when I feel as if I could eat and eat and eat, it's just like I can't stop.
Yeah, that's all those sugar, carb-heavy foods and that feeling of never being full. What that really is, though, is ghrelin, a hormone that's in your body and that is kicking in big time because of all the carbohydrate. We call this the hunger hormone, and it literally tells your brain to eat more food. Now, this is directly triggered by stress and the ingestion of carbohydrates. And for some reason, it's a lot worse at night. We're not sure why. But the solution is some simple de-stressing exercises, the right kind of exercise like we've been discussing, which has been demonstrated to massively reduce stress, and those nasty fat-making hormones. If you're really serious, there are a few key supplements that can really chill you out. I mean, they're not necessary, but I take them, and they're definitely helpful. Okay, number 2, it's the wrong type of exercise that kills your weight loss. Anywhere your body is not put under resistance, or when you're doing something for 45 minutes or longer, it's almost always the wrong type of exercise unless you're a competitive bodybuilder or something. The only exception to that is brisk walking, which I absolutely love for fat burning and for health reasons. But if that's all you did, not much would happen. Sure, you can run marathons and you would look like a marathon runner. Most of them, face it, Susan, most marathon runners look weak and frail. But look at sprinters. Have you ever seen sprinters? They're super lean. They're ripped, as we would say in the physique world, and they're muscular, yet they only run for a few seconds, and then they walk back to the starting blocks. That's how we were designed to exercise. Burst, then rest. That's why the workout I recommend is done in just 7 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Or if you're a little more advanced, 14 minutes a day, 3 days a week. Then I add in my 9 to 15 minute cardio protocol, and that's it. You're done. Other than walking, you are done. Now that's well under 90 minutes a week, and this sets your body up to receive whatever carbohydrates you desire, your favorite foods, several times a week. And these foods will now help you lose weight rather than stop your weight loss in its tracks. And this also solves the problem of your metabolism slowing down. It helps reverse insulin resistance, a state that leads to type 2 diabetes, helps reduce heart disease, among others.
That's fantastic. So what's this third thing that you mentioned from the start? You said something about this one word is the answer to both health and weight loss. You have me really curious. Come on, what is it?
Okay, I'll end the curiosity. The third reason we put on weight is a state inside your body that's now linked to virtually every disease known to man. It's called inflammation. Now, it doesn't sound like inflammation would cause weight gain issues, but it does, big time. And it's easy to solve in most cases. Just stop eating the foods that create inflammation. Inflammation cannot be cured by taking ibuprofen, in case you're wondering, okay? This is systemic inflammation, and it's literally a precursor to disease in the body. So, here's the good news. Inflammation can be reduced simply by avoiding inflammatory foods, except when your body can absorb them, like we covered already, and exercising in a way that reduces inflammation, which means less duration and greater intensity. Now, let's cover the foods that create the most inflammation in the body. The most inflammatory food for the body is, no surprise here, right? Carbohydrates. Is it all making sense now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, good. That's shocking to some people as they think carbs are healthy. But for about 75% of us, a lot of carbohydrates are anything but healthy unless you eat them at the right time, like I said earlier, or unless you're consuming fresh vegetables, of course. Organic, green, fresh veggies are always a safe and healthy bet. Just save your fruit, your pasta, your sugary treats for that timed carb window we discussed, and inflammation rarely occurs. Eat these foods daily and you're bound to have an inflammatory response. Once inflammation is present, and get this, the body demands more energy to attempt to resolve the disease, if you will. And that means you can start having food cravings to help supply the body with this much needed energy. That sucks, right? So now let's get to the second most inflammatory food in the world, and that is store-bought red meat.
But wait a second. I've seen you eat red meat. In fact, I think you eat it almost every day.
Yeah, that's true, but that's because I get grass-fed beef only. I'm super cautious because heart disease runs in my family, as you know, but my body craves red meat. So I solved the inflammation problem in the response simply by cutting out any red meat that comes from cows that are fed grains. Go figure, grains are again at the root of the problem. Feeding an herbivore like a cow grains is like feeding a human sheep metal. I mean, we're just simply not designed to digest it. The grains fatten the cow up, and unfortunately, this makes for a thicker, tastier, but far deadlier piece of steak. The reason grain-fed beef is so dangerous is because of the omega-3 to 6 ratio.
The omega who to what?
Okay, wait, it's more simple than it sounds. Your body requires those essential fatty acids, remember? The two we are absolutely positive about from a science perspective are called omega-3s and omega-6s. The ratio between omega-3s should be no more than 1/2 the ratio of omega-6s when it comes to anything, especially red meat. Now, you don't have this problem with free-range chicken, freshwater fish, and so on, but you do with red meat. Cows fed grains have a ratio of 1 to 20, omega-3 to omega-6, 1 to 20. This is beyond dangerous in the long term. It's suicide. Grass-fed cattle have a naturally safe 1 to 2 or 1 to 4 ratio. That's a massive difference. 7% of grain-fed beef's essential fatty acids come from omega-3s, while store-bought beef contains less than 1%. Omega-3 fatty acids keep our insulin under control, and remember, that's a key component to your weight loss, plus it protects your heart.
Okay, got it. Grain-fed and free-range is definitely the way to go. And it's not that much more expensive, is it?
No, but that's because you'll be eating naturally a lot less of it. Grain-fed beef is just naturally more filling versus supermarket beef. And even if it's slightly more expensive, what's your health worth to you?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Okay, now the third most inflammatory food you can put in your body is dairy foods. However, again, this is dependent upon the source of the dairy. Grass-fed cows, for example, will produce dairy with a better omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. However, we do have to do some more study on this, so to be on the safe side, I recommend reducing dairy to your free meals. That's what I call them, those meals where you eat off, eat your favorite foods, and just a minimal amount of dairy on the other days.
Okay, John, that was a lot that you just covered, and I seriously cannot thank you enough. I have a million questions, but I know you answer most of them, or maybe even all of them, in these books that you brought for me today, which, by the way, I refuse to not pay you for. You've given me far, far more in value in the time that we've just spent together today. So seriously, I'm going to go and order them online.
Okay, Susan. Well, guess what? I accept. And thank you for seeing the value in my life's research and what my life's passion is. I poured my heart and soul, plus years of research and experience into these books. And yes, they spell out the exact steps, holding you by the hand through the process that men and women need to take in order to finally shed those unwanted pounds, drop dress sizes and waist sizes, feel fantastic and fully energized, and also strategies for maintaining that ideal weight.
I've seen these results that you've had, and they're almost beyond belief. And I know a lot of people in our gym who follow your protocols. They're the ones that I see actually changing every week. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it first.
Well, part of the reason they make these more rapid body changes is simply because they're committed to the plan. So let's be honest. If you're going to buy these books or join our online community, pick up all these bonus books that you've seen other people have, all I ask is one thing. You must be ready to change your body for life. If anyone tells you weight loss and shaping your body is easy, they are lying to you. If anyone tells you that weight loss comes in a pill and a pill only, they are lying to you. The truth is that I've just made weight loss and body reshaping as easy as it can be. Does that make sense? Why work harder than you have to? Why work out for hours a day when all you need is 90 minutes a week, save those early brisk morning walks? Why do it? Why spend hours in front of your TV or on some treadmill going to nowhere like a hamster in a cage when you can get better results in just minutes? Well, it made no sense to me. And when I studied the science and applied it to my body and then to the bodies of my clients, I knew there was, in fact, a much easier way to get this done. But easier does not mean easy. Now, that said, it is really simple. Simple and easy are two different words, right? It's simple. And that's why so many people can stick to these protocols. How hard is it to diet for a day or two? We've all done that, right? We just associate with failure. But when you know that you have a treat coming up, it makes it 100 times easier to stick to a diet. So this is a lifestyle eating plan, Susan, not a diet in the traditional sense of the word. Resistance workouts are simple too. They're intense based on your level where you begin. We have beginner, intermediate, and advanced, plus a super advanced option. But it's simple, nothing complex, nothing to require you to stand on a rubber ball on one leg while you press a lopsided circular dumbbell over your head and chant. I swear I've seen these modern trainers and I just have to laugh. They're like, it's all about your core, man. No, it isn't. Your core gets all the work it needs in a matter of minutes with the right kind of exercise. I've never trained my abs for more than 5 minutes. Ever. And you just saw my abs for yourself at the age of almost 49. It's amazing how one basic exercise can get you all the quote-unquote core you'll ever need without looking ridiculous in the process in the gym. So this is not an issue of age. This is not an issue of willpower. And it's definitely not a scammy, pill-based or potion-based temporary Band-Aid solution to the problem. This is the lifetime solution to your ideal body. So if you're ready to commit, let me share with you what I shared with Susan today.